No, what
Okay.
else was in the box?
Watch up here. Stop building. So we're going to look at the brick and talk about the brick. I am recording this. That way I can stick it on YouTube and you guys can come back if you have questions about the brick. Okay? So the brick is really, it's the heart of your robot. It is a computer. Now it doesn't understand computer commands like you would on a regular computer. It has a menu built into it, and we're going to look through that menu, but most of it comes out of the program. So you guys are going to use a program in Lego, and you're going to write a program, and it's going to compile it into the language that the brick recognizes, which is ones and O's. Aaron.
Binary?
So, not necessarily binary. That's close enough to understand. It's going to compile it into that language that gets here. Okay? So, the first thing is about the brick. Now, you'll notice on the sides of your brick, you've got some ports. This actually supports you putting a USB on it. And it can run off a USB, which is really kind of cool. Because you can download stuff to the USB. It can work off an SD card, which gives it an amazing amount of memory. If you go online, you'll find people that have programmed these to play guitars, whole guitar tunes. I mean, they got crazy stuff. If you look at First Lego League, FLL, those robots are flat out amazing. And they're using a lot more memory than the robot internally involves, okay? You've already seen your ports. You have ports labeled, I guess we can do this, 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are for your sensors. Your sensors are the thing that sense out. So robots generally work on input. Most robots have to know something is there. Does that make sense? Your sensors are what does that. You have a bunch of sensors in your box. I'm stealing your sensors.
So my sensors.
You have 2 motors. That's where their motor went.
Yay. Double the power.
Bad people. So you've got some sensors. That was almost funny. You've got some sensors available to you. So the first one here is, put this down. The first one here is your ultrasonic sensor. It looks like a pair of eyes, right? It's your ultrasonic sensor. It sends out a sound signal, which bounces off the objects in front of it and return it, so it recognizes the distance between that object and the sensor. We're going to play with that, and what you got to remember, millimeters or centimeters are more accurate than inches. Remember that in robotics. They're just more accurate. I don't know how to say it. So that's that first one. You've got, the next sensor you've got is one you're not going to use a terrible lot. It's got little arrows on top. It's a gyro sensor. It helps tell the robot how far it's turned or how far it's off level. Because, you know, those of you who like pickup trucks, if your 4x4 gets too far off level, what happens? It flips over and makes bendy parts. So that's your gyro sensor. You have a push button sensor.
Can we push it?
Yeah, you can. Just don't lose your mind. Remember, these are parts. If you just go crazy clicky, you can break them. People have broke them, and I don't want you to break them on purpose. They do get broken. So this one allows you to push. And you'll notice it has a little pocket in the middle. The one I like using this most is to create buttons on the robot, so that you have a button A and a button B. That way you don't have, when we get to the menus, you start your program, and instead of getting back on those buttons and cycling through, you just press your A button or your B button, and your robot does what you want it to. Does that make sense? And the last one you have that you're going to use a lot is your color sensor or your light sensor. It'll make a cool light. On the race cars up there, you'll see they have the color sensors on the rear, and the only thing they're there for is to look like a cool brake light. Because they do make cool red lights. Same thing as the ultrasonic. It makes cool lights, so people like to see. So those are your sensors. Your brick, those plug into there. You also have motors. The motor controls are labeled A, B, C, D. So you've got 2 motors. You've got the large one you guys have seen, and you've got the medium one. And it's kind of funny. There is no small motor. So you've got the medium motor. It's the one that looks out. It spins fast, but it has little torque. The big motors, the large motors you have, spin slow, but have a lot of torque. So this one will go fast, but it's easily stopped. The other ones will go slow, and they're tough to stop. Does that make sense when you talk about torque? So your ABCDs are your motors. You also have this right here. This is going to where your USB cable is going to plug from your computer into the robot. That's how you're going to load up your programs. And in a moment, I'm going to show you other ways to do that. We're not going to do that. Probably one of the greatest weaknesses on this robot is limited amounts of available radio signal. So it causes interference. The one last thing I forgot to show you on this side where you have your sensors, and this is your power port. When you're done today, you're going to line your robots across the top there and plug them in so the battery is charged. And it'll plug into there. All right, so let's talk about your brick itself. Most of you named your robots yesterday. This one still has programs in it. So this first tab, well, let's talk about how to navigate the brick. You've got buttons. These buttons, top, left, right, these move it. The center one's called your selection button. It selects wherever you're off. This is your back button, and it takes you back. If you hit it twice, it'll take you to the turn me off screen. And if you go over and press the button, it will turn off, but I don't want it to turn off. So use these buttons to navigate across the tops, right? So the first one, this first menu, and I've warned everyone individually, I'm going to warn you again, this is the deadly one. And the reason I say that is this is programs that have been run on the brick. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to program your robot to do something. It's going to do it, but not perfect. So you're going to sit down and reprogram, and you're going to load it in. But if you don't go to the next screen, and you run it from that first screen, that's programs that I've already run. Which means when you hit start, it's going to run the same program that didn't work the first time again. Not the program that you fixed. And you're going to get frustrated, and you're going to go back and do it again. About the sixth time you do it, you're going to realize it's not taking your changes. And then when you press the other button, the robot's going to do things that are completely wild because you've just been constantly programming it. Does that make sense? So this menu, avoid it. The second one is your file menu. It shows you all your files. I will show you here in a moment, hopefully I get this right, how to see files on your disk. So this shows you all the files are available. One file you can't remove, and that's that brick prog save. Everyone see that? The next menu, and we're going to talk a lot about this menu tomorrow. The first one's port view. Now, I've got nothing plugged into mine at all. So you'll see all the tops of mine have nothings. Let me plug something into a port.
Wait, click port view.
Okay. Back button. So port view. I'm actually going to plug a sensor in. And I'll just plug this one in. It's my ultrasonic that I'm plugging in. So I'm going to go to port view. Now you'll notice the top line is the same size as ABCD, right? The bottom line is the same size as 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've plugged in my sonic sensor. Everyone plug in your ultrasonic sensor. Get it out. Plug it into your brick. I have yours. I'll get my own. I got. Where did? Oh, there's my box. I'm sorry. Everyone plug in your ultrasonic sensor, or I stole your cable too. Plug in your ultrasonic sensor. So, and then click port view. Now, what do you notice?
It changed. Nothing.
Did you plug in your sonic sensor into ports 1, 2, 3, or 4?
Yes.
It's measuring how far away it is.
Okay, hold on. Let me come around.
Wait.
Because he's.
Oh, because you have to go over the 4. Okay, that's a good. Thank you. That's a great. Here's what they did and what some of you did. Now I didn't think about it. I plugged mine into port 1. Plug yours into port 1 because port 1 is the first port down here. So it's measuring distance. Everyone see that? Is it kind of cool as you point it at your face and see how far your face is away? You feel good? You feel better now that you found your face? Everyone find your face?
Oh, no, I'm good, I'm good.
You good?
Yes.
Look, you found his face. Now, I will tell you that about 3 centimeters it has a problem. So like if you put your hand right up against it, you'll notice that it feeds back. It's only good to about 3 centimeters away. It tends to have problems if you get closer than that. Does that make sense? So those of you who want to program it to stop a centimeter away from the wall are going to have to learn how to program it to stop 4 and then move 3 forward. So that's, now, if I've got other stuff, so I want you to take, you've already got motors installed. Is everyone here got some cables? No, good. I'm going to show you the motor side, but don't worry about it. If your motors are plugged in, great. If your motors aren't plugged in, great. What do you have your medium A, right? Okay, so they've got their medium motor plugged into A. So I'm going to plug my medium motor into A. Mostly if your robot's on, that's the one up front that has a little twirly dial. If you don't have that plugged in yet, go to somebody who does and look at theirs. So, everyone find somebody that does. I gotta make mine a little turner knob. So I plugged it into what port?
Yes.
A. So port A is that port up there, right? So use your keys to move up to port A. Now you'll notice if you turn the motor, what happens? Turn the motor up front manually.
It changes.
And watch the numbers. Do your numbers change?
Yes.
Yes, they're changing.
Anybody not see your numbers change? So, now here's the great part about it. Each one of these has, usually it has 1 or 2 sub-menus. So, when you're on your motor right now looking at the medium motor, you can see the little medium motor symbol up front. Click the selection button. And it'll show you a sub-menu. Every one of these sensors and motors has a sub-menu. I want to say every one, maybe there's one that doesn't. That sub-menu allows you to do different things. In this case, you can move between degrees and rotations. You guys see that? Did you not see how I got there? You got to talk to me. Okay. If you're in your motor, are you in your port view for your motor? Okay, you're not in port view at all. So we go to port view, go up top to your motor, move up to it, and now turn your motor. See how you turn your motor? It's making things. Now click your selection button. So did everyone see that? So you can change how it represents it between rotations and degrees. Now why is this important?
Exactly where it stops.
Good. That's it. A lot of this, you're going to go out and you're going to measure something. And it's going to say, I need your robot to start here and end here. A lot of times you can put it on port view and just hand roll the robot forward and read the output. Doesn't require a lot of guessing, right? We'll get to a math formula that works in there too, but a lot of you are going to use the port view method because it doesn't require math.
Yes.
Jake's over there smiling saying, yep, port view it is. But we are going to learn the formula. So, when you've got your port view, it is probably your most important one. Now, right now, my motor's, I'm going to back out, so I hit the B button to take me back out to the regular menu. And it says I've got negative 203 degrees.
That's cold.
Well, it is cold. But I want it at 0 degrees. There are a couple ways to reset it. I'm going to use the poor man's reset. I'm just going to unplug the motor and replug the motor. And how many degrees am I at now?
0.
0. There is actually a way in the program when we get there to reset things, but this doesn't really terribly hurt the robot. I've seen probably once where somebody did something and it caused the robot to have to be rebooted, but not a big thing. So a lot of times you can do that and just reset it to 0. So now if you're at that line and you need to move forward, you're moving exactly the distance you want. And reading it, right? All right, so I'm going to exit out of the port view, and to do that, I'm going to hit my B button. The next one down is motor control. So go to motor control and press it.
Wow.
So everyone see your menu in motor control?
Yes.
What?
Get your menu.
Across the top. Hit B button to get out of that one.
Oh.
Plug this into the A port. Okay. You got your plug it into A port. So right now you'll see it says motor control is to which motors? Which ports?
A and D.
Now press the selection button. That's the middle button, and it'll tell you it's to B and C. Generally, when we do the rear wheels, how many of you have the whole robot put together right now? Good. Leave it on B and C, and I want you to press a button. Any button, left, right, up, down. Oh. Hey! Now, pick up your robot and press a couple of different buttons. You guys, you can press a button. Pick up your robot. Now, here's what happens. Somebody will tell me, my robot's not working. My motors are dead. I can pick it up and say, your motors ain't dead. Your programming is dead. Does that make sense? So if you get to the point where you're thinking there's a problem with your motors, put it on motor control and do it. Now, here's my warning about motor control. So if you didn't have both of them, you could put on the A. If I collect AD and I press it, then I can control my medium motor. So everyone put an AD in if you have it, and try your medium motor. You don't have it. Yeah, that's the one you got plugged in. So AD, now press the buttons. No, not that. Press one of the outside buttons. Try the up and down. Is that cool?
Yeah.
So does your medium motor work?
Yes. I don't have my medium motor.
That's fine. But now you know how to make it work, right? The medium motor is actually going to be for some gates to lift up and down, and it'll do some other things that we'll see. Okay, so motor control, its greatest value is to let you know your engines are working. Its greatest detriment is that it always runs at 100% speed. When you guys start adding gears to things, if you run it with motor control, the gears are going to get stripped. Because a lot of times when you put gears and they've got those little teeth, running them too high makes them strip out. That's why people lose transmissions. Does that make sense? So that's its negative. Use it to verify motors. Don't use it to drive the thing around. It's going to end badly. Okay, I'm going to get out of this menu, so I'm going to B out. B out. IR control, is right below that. I actually have some IR controllers, but we're not going to do them in this class. Infrared takes a little bit more. That's what these guys up here are, and my batteries are dying on those. Okay, and lastly, if you go down to Brick Program, you can actually hand program this robot one brick at a time.
Oh, no.
It is painful. If you really make me angry, then I'll take away the program and make you do it this way, just as a punishment. No, I won't do that.
Wouldn't it be easier to do it that way?
No, it is not easier to do it this, because you're looking at a small black and white menu with a lot of buttons. It's painful. So we're going to get out. We're going to go, so back out until you get back to the main menu. And we're going to move over to the wrench. The wrench. Most of you have already been on the wrench. These are things important. So the first one is volume. These things do not have a loud volume. I will tell you that they're just not loud. That is probably one of the biggest weaknesses, and there's no way to up the speaker. I know that because when I have people who do inventions and they want the robot to talk, it is almost impossible for the judges in a hard room to hear it. Okay? So don't change it. Sleep. Sleep means after this specific time, it will shut itself off. Change the sleep to 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Why did I have you change sleep to 10 minutes?
So then it doesn't take as long.
It doesn't soak up the battery. If your robot's been sitting there for 10 minutes and you haven't done anything with it, all it's doing is using your battery. Does that make sense? It's funny, I've had people show up at competition and had the robot on all day, and during their last match, the robot's run out of power, which sucks.
Did they lose because of that?
Yes. They were just standing there because their robot wouldn't move, which is sad for them. Okay. Bluetooth. Bluetooth should not be on. So if you click Bluetooth, you'll see it says it's visible, and Bluetooth is on this one. Go up and turn those off. Turn off visibility, turn off Bluetooth. If you don't, somebody feeling malicious in class can hook up to your robot and make it do things. And they will. For some reason, there's always one person who's bored stiff who just wants to see other people's robot drive off the table.
We don't have visibility setting, but we do have Bluetooth that's off.
That's fine, turn it off.
Okay, but we don't have visibility.
Don't worry about it. And then go down to the check mark at the bottom and hit enter. That'll make sure it's no Bluetooth. Your Wi-Fi should not be on. You can actually run these using Bluetooth or a Wi-Fi like phone. You can run. There's an iPhone app that'll help you run these robots. The last thing is you guys already did this and you gave your brick a new name. The brick I'm using here is called MTV. I just grabbed it out of a box. So that's what they call their brick. You guys should have a better name.
It's called
Okay.
It is?
So, any questions on the brick? It'll take you a little bit, but you guys, in about a week, you guys will be flying through these menus without effort. Just remember that first tab, don't use it. Unless you've done the program and the program worked great, then use the first tab. All right. No questions on the brick? And I'll stop the video.